Hello, everybody, and welcome to Twice as Lively with Ken Heckenlively. That would be me. And yes, I do have my wonderful Pete's coffee with me. Yes, Pete's coffee is so delicious. So in today's episode, we are going to be going over why you should not tell me or anybody what to think. It's just annoying. Now, I like the facts. I like suspicions. I love to hear people's opinions. But please, please do not tell me what I must think, especially before all the evidence comes in. You'll just make me very, very mad. And you wouldn't like me when I'm mad. No, you wouldn't. Okay, so we've got our wonderful Pete's coffee here. Yes, this is a cafe Americano with a little bit of honey and a little bit of milk. So get your beverage of choice ready. It is Sunday and it is after 12. So technically, you could be having alcohol in this because you could be having your brunch and you could have a mimosa, which is alcoholic, which it seems to me that if it's socially acceptable to have a mimosa for Sunday brunch, it seems like it would be okay and socially acceptable for you to have alcohol in your beverage of choice. So with that being said, let's take our simultaneous sip. Here we go. Ah, so delicious, so delicious. Try and get that coffee every day. It's supposed to be so healthy for you. Or do whatever you need to do in order to feel energized. Because the day is just better when you're energized. Do you ever notice that when you're feeling down and you say, what if I just fake it? What if I just pretend to have energy? It's really interesting because what ends up happening is you end up having more energy. So isn't that great, knowing that you can program yourself? So I am all in favor of you programming yourself. What I object to, and what I'm going to be talking about today, is I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. When people try to program me, I don't have any problem with you telling me your ideas, your thoughts, your suspicions. But please, please, never tell me what I have to think. Now, what am I talking about? Well, the big news in social media is the preliminary hearing in the Charlie Kirk assassination case. Remember, that is the preliminary hearing, not the entire trial. So, what is the information that we got at that preliminary hearing? Well, we got some damning information, damning testimony from Lance Twiggs, the roommate slash lover of Tyler Robinson. We apparently got some zoomed in video which shows Tyler Robinson on the roof, getting down in the sniper position, taking that shot, then running away. We weren't allowed to see it, so I'm only going off news reports. We also got some intimation and discussion that the question about the 30-6 round that should have either exited Charlie Kirk or blown a significant hole in his neck, that may not necessarily be true, because a 30-6 bullet can be in the standard setup, or it can be a hollow point. A hollow point bullet, as I understand it, is designed to break apart on impact. So that would explain how the bullet may have done a lot of damage inside of Charlie Kirk, but may not have created an exit wound. That makes a lot of sense to me. That is one question which I have been wondering about for some time. So, for all of those out there who are keeping score of who's on Team Tyler being guilty and Team Tyler being innocent, I would have to say at this point, I'm thinking it's much more likely that Tyler Robinson is guilty and is solely guilty of killing Charlie Kirk. But here's the thing that's driving me absolutely nuts. So many conservative commentators, and I understand they may be good friends of Charlie Kirk and his widow, Erica Kirk. So anytime there are allegations against somebody you take it very personally. But I would like to say to those commentators, we are not friends with Erica Kirk. Okay, we don't know her. We don't know the TPUSA people. We haven't been to dinner with them. We don't know if they're good Christian people. So just lay off for a little bit the attacks on those who are questioning things. Because although I would say I'm right now leaning more towards Tyler Robinson being guilty of the crime of shooting and killing Charlie Kirk, we're just at the preliminary hearing. The trial has not taken place yet. The defense has not had a time to cross-examine the witnesses and the evidence. Please, even though these commentators may be good friends of the Kirk family, stop attacking those who are raising questions. Instead of attacking those who are raising questions, what you should be doing is answering the goddamn questions. Is that too much to ask? No. Do it calmly. I know. These are people you know. But the rest of us, the other 330 million Americans, we don't know Erica Kirk. We don't know TPUSA. We don't know whatever their names are, Andrew Colvett, Mikey McCoy. I don't know these people. So I got questions. And it seems to me there are still significant questions in this case. I'm wondering, about the 30-on-6 round. It matters to me that they're able to match the bullet to the gun. It matters to me that they're able to show that that rifle fired that bullet, because we also heard that on another rooftop they found a bullet. What the hell is a bullet doing on the top of another building? This is just bizarre. You need to explain this to me. I'm persuadable, okay? You just got to explain why there's a bullet on top of another roof. A couple other things that are just kind of weird to me. What is weird to me is that it appears that the DNA of Lance Twiggs is on the gun and on the towel and in a greater amount than Tyler Robinson. What the hell is up with that? You got to explain that to me. Also, these conservative commentators who are saying, shut down the questions, shut down the questions. No, I'm sorry. I want to know about Charlie Kirk changing his opinion on Israel, their war in Gaza, and the influence they may have over the American government. I'm not saying that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying that in a murder case, you look at who the victim was having a beef with. It seemed like Charlie Kirk was having a beef with Israel. I want some information about that. Other things, other people in the crowd. I am confused about the guy who jumped up and said, I did it. And then you find out he was at the scene of the Boston Marathon bombing and he's taken in for child porn. What the heck is up with that? Also, the observation by Candace Owens that there seem to be a number of people in maroon shirts who look kind of like feds or special forces in the crowd. I want to know about that. I want to know about Israeli phones in the crowd. Like I said, I'm kind of thinking Tyler Robinson did it, but it's only the preliminary hearing. Do you understand this? I'm trained as an attorney. So one of the things you should know, when you're an attorney and you're presenting a case, you are never allowed under the rules of the courtroom to say, I personally believe this, because it's not about you. You're an advocate. And so I also feel like any attorney knows that the real job is persuading people. And these conservative commentators are doing a terrible job persuading those who currently have questions about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Here's how you persuade people. You persuade people by giving them facts, leading them through it, and saying, well, I think that this is the way things are. You don't persuade people by telling them that if they think the wrong thing, they're bad. Now, you might not feel like you're doing that, conservative commentators, but you are. Okay, so you know, conservative commentators, you may have the edge. It may be right that Tyler Robinson and nobody else is responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, but you are blowing it with the public because you are speaking down to them. I thought that this was something that conservatives learned a long time ago, that the liberals talk down to people. Oh, you like Trump? You must be a racist. You must be a Nazi. No, that's not the way it's done. You're calm. You're relaxed. You're rational. You just lay out the facts. Don't take it personally. Look, I can't say this enough. Conservative commentators, you may have deep ties to TPUSA, to Erica Kirk, and they may be all great people. You have to be objective like a lawyer and ask, how does this look? I would say the actions of Erica Kirk just seem bizarre to me. Does that mean she's a murderer? No. The actions of a lot of the TPUSA people looks as suspicious as hell. Does that mean they are? No. It just means they suck in the public eye. Okay, I'm willing to say I am more on the side of the evidence seems to be suggesting that Tyler Robinson is guilty of killing Charlie Kirk. What I will also say is the people who are supporting that position are doing a piss poor job of convincing their fellow conservatives, the people they've been with ever since COVID, ever since the Russian collusion hoax, ever since the Fine People hoax, those who question the Kennedy assassination, those who question UFOs, those who question Epstein, those who question how we got into Vietnam. Has everybody in the conservative sphere forgotten all those times that we've been lied to? So, really, I know it may be a drag that people you care about are having their reputations dragged through the mud. But understand, people love Charlie Kirk. I never listened to him much. My wife was a big listener to her. I've listened to more of Charlie Kirk since he died than I ever did when he was alive. But it seems to me he had a huge effect on young people. So really, don't blow a winning argument. Dear conservative commentators, do not blow a winning argument. It may be that Tyler Robinson is solely responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk. But what you have to do is you have to speak to people in a calm and rational manner and just lay it out for them. If the facts are there, don't worry, we'll get there. But the way you've been treating those who ask questions, like Candace Owens, like Lionel Nation, like Jimmy Dore, you're doing a terrible job, okay? You look guilty, and that's not a good look. So please, take a breath. Respond the way you would respond. You would like to have people respond when you ask questions, when questions are asked about COVID, when they're asked about the Kennedy assassination, when they're asked about the various Trump hoaxes, okay? Be calm, be rational, answer all the questions, sit in front of your camera for hours, calmly going through the evidence. But do not attack the people who ask questions. It's just a bad look, doesn't serve you well. Okay, moving on. The other big story, which I was surprised to hear about this morning when I opened my newsfeed, was the death of Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina. And I kind of had conflicting emotions because I'm not a big Lindsey Graham fan, but at the same time, he doesn't seem to be untypical of many politicians, and I'm sure he had people who liked him. But while I'm sad at his passing, I also think it's important that we describe people accurately. And I think that Lindsey Graham was unfortunately one of what we call frenemies, who would sometimes be nice to the conservative side and other times was not. I really don't consider him that much of a conservative because of how much he genuinely did seem to enjoy war. And I just thought he was kind of a strange cat. And I think there are better people. But I wanted to read this from the BBC, just kind of to give you a little bit of background. And for maybe some of my younger viewers, what was going on with Lindsey Graham and why do I say he's more of a frenemy and not really somebody I generally had a great deal of respect for. Okay, so from the BBC, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, a close ally of U.S. President Donald Trump, has died at the age of 71. He died on Saturday evening following a brief and sudden illness, according to his office. Elected to the Senate in 2002, the South Carolina politician was one of Washington's most influential voices on foreign policy, often pushing for U.S. military intervention overseas. Donald Trump said Graham was a true American patriot who would be greatly missed. Graham had just returned from Kyiv, where he met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday. There were no known health concerns ahead of the trip. Trump told NBC News that he had spoken with Graham hours before his death, and the senator sounded great, but a little tired. Graham was previously a vocal critic of Donald Trump, calling him a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot in 2015. The next year, ahead of the 2016 presidential election, he said, "If we nominate Trump, we will get destroyed, and we will deserve it." There you go. That's Lindsey Graham. And so the fact that over the ensuing years, he sucked up to Donald Trump, well, I just think it's a testament to Trump as a politician that he accepted the friendship of Lindsey Graham, although I doubt he ever really believed it. I think Trump is somebody who knows that most of the people in politics are only out for themselves. They are going to say whatever will help them. They would sell out their mothers if it benefited their political career. And unfortunately, in my final analysis of Lindsey Graham, I can't say that he is much different than that description. So we offer prayers for the eternal soul of Lindsey Graham, but I can't say he was somebody I admire. All right, some of my viewers have been saying, hey, Kent, how did that dental procedure go? Well, unlike Lindsey Graham, I have some absolutely wonderful words of praise for my dental assistant, Andrew, and Dr. Ray's. So the procedure I had to have, and you may notice I'm speaking a little bit differently today, is I've got some receding gums. And so what they did was they went into my upper palate. They cut some flesh from my palate, and then they patched it into those areas where I have receding gums. And for about 10 days to 2 weeks, I've got to wear this retainer and be real gentle when I brush my teeth and, do all these things like eat soft foods. But back to my fabulous team, who I call the dynamic duo, Andrew and Dr. Ray's. Okay, so remember in my previous broadcast, I had given you the clues on how to identify and avoid shitheads. Okay, and so I mentioned that shitheads generally do not engage with you. They do not joke with you. They do not share personal information. So let me just tell you about how to act with people, because dentists know more than anybody else that those who are in their office are scared out of their wits. And so what you have to do is, within a very short period of time, you have to calm them down. So I come in there. Okay, I'm one of the biggest friggin' cowards in the entire world when it comes to dental procedures. So, okay, so my heart is going pitter patter. My blood pressure is high, I'm sure. And so Andrew is just so calm and so nice and asking me questions. And so then, I always feel like part of social behavior is trying to find out about the other person. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm nervous here. I want to feel like a connection with this person who's going to be cutting flesh out of my mouth. And so I said, oh, Andrew, tell me a little bit about yourself. How long you been doing this? And he goes, oh, I've been doing about 8 years. And I did some marketing with dentists, and I found myself fascinated by what they were doing. And I found that, I liked actually the dental procedures and working with people much better than advertising for the dentist. And so I went back to school and got my dental license. And then he told me about his kid and all this other sort of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm liking this. Why is it that in like a 10, 15-minute interaction, I can feel closer to that individual than maybe some of my fellow colleagues in my former profession of teaching that I was around for 15 years. So basic social behavior, okay? Connect to people, ask them questions. Then Dr. Ray's comes in, and he's just like a nice guy. And, he's telling me about his life and things that he does. And, he's asking me about me. And he asked me about, what kind of exercise you do. Because I say, hey, I take Muay Thai, and, it's punching and kicking. So how long am I going to be out from doing that? He's like, oh, 2 weeks, because, we don't want you getting punched in the face and, distracting this skin graft on your gums. I'm like, okay. And so, we talk about a bunch of interesting things. He tells me about taking a pottery class, and he tells me, I ask him, hey, how do you get into this kind of dentistry, and find out that he really wanted to be a surgeon, and but this was a shorter route to be a surgeon, and I'm sure liability for a dental surgeon is much easier to get and cheaper than for a regular surgeon. So just had a wonderful thing. I mean, I had to be in the goddamn chair for 2 hours, and they cut part of my upper palate out and put this in. But I have to say, I had a great time with that dental procedure. And so seriously, you can go through like a terrible experience, but if the professionals doing it know how to make good social connections with you, you're going to be just fine. Okay, moving on to the next topic. Last night for dinner, I had just a wonderful experience. I went out to dinner with my lovely wife, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my niece, and as well as a friend of hers. And I just have to say, there's something wonderful about being older and seeing young people confront challenges and plan their lives. It was just great to hear all the wonderful things that my niece was doing. And, there's just something wonderful when kids start to grow up and they start to enter the adult world and see the world through your eyes, through adult eyes. And you can have this just really wonderful relationship with them. And I thought, not just about my niece, but there are several younger people in the family who I am making an effort to connect with. And even though I'm kind of like the older person guiding them in a couple ways, because I've got some rising young writers in the family who are soliciting my advice on things, and I'm just so happy to give it. It makes me feel delightful. They're always like, "Oh, Uncle Kent, I can't believe you're spending so much time with me on this." And I'm like, "Are you kidding? This is fun." And so and it's not just fun because I'm fairly successful at this writing. I'm much less successful than my nieces and nephews think I am, but to them, I'm pretty successful. And so it's just nice to be able to give some advice to them and to move them forward. So I encourage you, especially as you get older, try to make some time to interact with the younger people in your family. They will really appreciate it, and it's just nice because you're not the parent, so they'll listen to you. And oftentimes people in the family, especially younger people, because when you're younger, you kind of just feel awkward about things. And especially if there's a young person in your family who you especially connect with, they'd probably really appreciate it if you took a little time, take them out to lunch and, email them, try to do those things, try to establish a good social connection with younger people in your family. It's something that's just great. And I know as an older person, it just brings me great joy to interact with younger people, hear what's going on, because I learn things, and then hopefully I'm making their lives better. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, finishing up. So my new book, This Never Happened, A Call Girl in DC, is now available to order on Amazon. And the first Amazon review for this new book is out. And as I close out this broadcast, let me read the first Amazon review. The headline is Exciting, Raw, Laugh Out Loud Funny, a fantastic and uniquely insightful story. Okay, so here it starts. Hollywood might want to talk to Kent about getting this one in theaters. When I began this book, I was looking forward to a great story about corruption in DC. I pictured a call girl with clients who spilled the beans about the deceptive and twisted world in the Capitol. I had no idea I was in for an edge of your seat, one of a kind story about the CIA, the mob, DC politics, and a story that blends together the best of multiple genres in a way that reads like no story I've ever read before. Kent went big with this one. The agency, the mob, the team of call girls recruited from Ivy League universities, and the various alliances that form throughout the book create a brilliant cast of characters that tells a story as captivating as any spy thriller, but with the rugged realism of any book that seeks to accurately depict U.S. intelligence agencies and their role in world politics through the 20th century. It was an absolute page turner, and the story through the eyes of call girls and their unique access and proximity to power in DC was brilliantly done. A new personal favorite of mine, given its depth, humor, and brilliant cast. So remember, this week is the big week of the marketing of This Never Happened, a call girl in DC. So you might want to jump onto Amazon today and get your copy of This Never Happened, a call girl in DC. And then after you read it, but only if you like it, please post a review to Amazon. Well, that's all I have for you today, but have a glorious Sunday. And remember, the best things in life are not listening to a podcast like this, but interacting with the real people in your life, face to face. So please find some time today to go be social with somebody, have face to face interactions with people, because remember, face to face with real people is the best thing in life, even more than Pete's Coffee. See you tomorrow.